Today on SciTech Tuesday, we're talking about technology, how it seems to be advancing, and yet our morality doesn't seem to be keeping pace, and it's really, really difficult at times. And because of that, we have issues like scammers that prey on people. We have computer fraud, cyber crimes, misappropriation of secrets, data, and funds. So much that takes place. And giving us an inside look is a man who is an attorney and he specializes in cybersecurity and data protection. So who would know better, right, than Shawn Tuma? Shawn, thank you for joining us live from Seattle.
Michelle, thank you. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Oh, you got to get us up to speed, because there is so much that's happening in the world of technology and so many differing ways that criminals can separate us from our data, from our secrets, from our pocketbook, that it's almost hard to keep up with. I'll give you an example. Out of Dallas, in the wake of the Dallas police shootings, scammers are preying on donors who are just trying to make a difference and give in the wake of these horrible shootings.
Yeah, Michelle, it all goes back to the Garden of Eden, and it's really that simple. We live in a world where there's evil, and people will do evil things. And what's happened is, in society today, we have computers and technology that has simply made fraud, which has been around for all of history. It has made it much more efficient and much easier for fraudsters to do, because now instead of having to be face-to-face with someone, there's all these other mediums that they can use, whether it's the internet through websites or emails or even telephone calls or things like that. And they're doing the same old tricks. They're lying, they're cheating, and they're stealing, and they're preying upon the goodwill of others to do so.
And it's interesting because you think of the saying, it's a biblical saying, there's nothing new under the sun. So it's the same old tricks. It's just higher technology that they're using to do it.
That's exactly right. And that's what computer fraud is. It's, we used to have the snake oil salesman back in the 1800s with the overcoat and the gadgets. Then we saw mail fraud, and then we saw wire fraud, and now we see computer fraud. And it's an evolution of that same old deception. It's lying, it's deception, and it's evil.
We're even seeing, and not to get political, but when we saw the hullabaloo about Hillary Clinton and her emails, I mean, there are ways that people are using technology maybe to their advantage and then have to cover tracks in the midst of it. It's just really confusing, probably mostly because technology advances so quickly. It's hard for our laws and even our ethics to keep up, it would seem, in some areas. If you're just joining us, Shawn Tuma is with us. He's an attorney specializing in cybersecurity and data protection. You can find out more at solidcounsel.com. Shawn, I want to know what some of the biggest offenders are and some of the things that small businesses who may be owners may be listening right now, individuals that are listening right now may need to know.
Well, the biggest offenders are typically governments and nation states of countries like China, Iran, Russia, and of course the U.S. is doing it to them as well, though we profess to not do it for economical reasons, but only for national defense reasons. But other than that, you have people in third world countries that have little in their life but a computer and access to the internet and all the amount of time in the world that you can imagine. And so they use these scams, and they use these tools that are available on the internet, sometimes for $500 that you can go and buy a tool to scam people and operate your own scams yourself. And so they, the first step is assume a lot of these things are fraudulent. You mentioned the Dallas Police Department issue. If you get an unsolicited email from somebody asking you for money, information, or anything else, they're preying upon your emotions many times. So assume it's fraudulent. Use the old Reagan saying of trust but verify.
There you are.
Use your common sense. Do some due diligence. Read up on them. Use only established charities. For businesses, you need a good antivirus system. It doesn't catch everything, but it catches a lot. You need to train your workforce and have good, strong policies and procedures in place, because most of what businesses get bitten by is what we call social engineering, and it's where criminals use deception to fool people into doing bad things like emailing out information, stuff like that. And so workforce training is critical. And then when you see these emails that you know are fraudulent, and you identified, a lot of people are tempted to engage with the criminals. Don't do that, because all that does is confirm for them that there's a real live person on the other end. And each conversation, each comment, they're collecting a little bit of data on you that they're going to use to fool you with next time.
So let me ask you, as an attorney specializing in cybersecurity and data protection, what legal protection do we have? What can we do legally to protect ourselves, even in the aftermath? Because it would seem that a lot of these issues come from overseas. My Nigerian uncle who keeps wanting me to invest for him. Yet I never met him. He's never at those family reunions. I don't know what's up with that. What can we do legally? What protections are out there?
Well, legally, I always say an ounce of prevention is cheaper than my first day at the courthouse. And so companies need, that's right, companies need to have good, solid policies and procedures in place. Individuals should monitor their credit on a regular basis, should use due diligence in applying for things over the internet. As far as the legal protections go, really the best thing you can do is document your efforts, because in the cybercrime world, we have a unique scenario where you have businesses that are attacked and are the victims of a crime, but then in culture and in law, they become the criminal or the bad guy for allowing the attack to happen and then giving up the information. So they have to be able to show their due diligence, show that they did the best they could under the circumstances to protect people's information. And, we have a stewardship obligation to do so, and people need to remember that.
I cannot thank you enough. You are a great guest. You have gotten us headed in the right direction. These are the shows that we need to listen to. Here and there, we need to be able to connect with this kind of information as a reminder, as maybe a first learning step in the process of understanding how technology is changing and how we can use technology for good before technology uses us. Shawn Tuma is, you can find him at solidcounsel.com. He specializes in cyber security and data protection as an attorney. He's an expert in the field and a great guest. Thank you, Shawn, for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you, Michelle.